Hitler is delighted with the progress of his new naval strategy. But Bismarck and Tirpitz are just the beginning of Raeder's plan for the German Navy. A vision he sets out in a manifesto known as the Z Plan.
The Z Plan was a plan to enlarge the German Navy massively. Raeder was thinking about making the German Navy into a means of world domination.
Well, the Z Plan in terms of battleships is a series of even bigger, better versions than the Bismarck and Tirpitz. So the first one is the H-39, and that's around sort of 55,000, 60,000 tons and around 265 meters long, with even bigger guns.
Raising the stakes, the H-42 weighs in at over 90,000 tons and stretches to over 1,000 feet in length.
And the final one is the H-44, which is absolutely ginormous. I mean, it's 155,000 tons. It's getting off at 400 meters long. It's got guns that are going to be 580 millimeters in diameter. To put that in some perspective, probably the biggest field gun that the Allies are using is 210 millimeters in the Second World War. So, you're talking something that's absolutely enormous.
The total cost is estimated at over 33 billion Reichsmarks. But on completion, Germany would have the most potent navy in the world.
Germany should be the greatest power on earth, and therefore it simply needed also not only the largest buildings but also the largest battleships as symbols of power, of the sheer might of Germany.
But not even Hitler's biggest shipyards have the infrastructure to accommodate vessels of this size.
This is the biggest dry dock I've ever seen in my life.
The Nazi solution is to build Elbe 17. Located a short distance from where the Bismarck is being fitted out in Hamburg, it's one of the largest dry docks ever built.
It's 350 meters long, it's 60 meters wide, and it's 14 and a half meters deep. The ship behind me is a good example of the size and scale of the battleships that Hitler wanted to build during the Second World War.
Hitler grants Raeder unlimited resources to accelerate naval expansion, but on one condition. He wants his new ships fast.
I can't have them ready before 1948. No earlier, mein Führer.
This is not good. No, that's not good enough, Admiral. I need them by 1944. If I can build a third Reich in 6 years, and the Navy consolidate 6 ships in 6 years.
And the reason for Hitler's impossible demands is soon evident. In September 1939, Germany invades Poland. The response from the West is faster than Hitler anticipated, and Raeder's plans are in trouble.
Britain and France do declare war, suddenly the Second World War has started, and this throws all the plans for the Z Plan and for future rearmament into some disarray. So he parks the Z Plan for a bit because at the moment the more immediate goal is the defeat of France, which is predominantly going to be done by air and land power, not by naval power.
With the Z Plan on hold, the priority for Raeder is to get the Bismarck and Tirpitz into battle.
Große Schiffe benötigen big ships need big guns. Denn die Engländer 38 Zentimeter. The British have 15-inch guns, then Bismarck has to have them. We cannot have ships that are smaller in any way.
Hitler's demanding big guns for a very simple reason, that bigger guns means you should always be able to outgun your enemy. So if your enemy can only fire a shell, say, 12 miles, but you can fire a shell 14 miles, then you've got a 2-mile advantage where they won't be able to hit you.
Summer 1940, and Hitler's land battles are a success. Nazi Germany has control over most of Western Europe. It's good news for Raeder. 10 months after being put on hold, his Z Plan can be revived.
There was only one enemy left for Germany in Europe, and that was Britain. And since Britain was a major naval power, this was the chance for Raeder to revive his Z Plan to build up a great, powerful, strong German fleet to press Britain into defeat.
With over 80 battleships and 500 U-boats, we could beat any navy in the world. America, Great Britain, Japan.
No longer are we talking about 8 aircraft carriers, we're talking about 20, we're talking about 80 battleships. You know, the world seems to be at their feet. They're confident, they're overexcited, they're basically like kids in a sweet shop.
The Z plan is back on, as the first of Hitler's megaships is ready to put to sea.
The Battle of the Atlantic is starting to really build momentum, and finally the Bismarck is ready. This huge battleship, the world's largest battleship with all its enormous firepower, and there is a real sense of confidence and anticipation that it's going to go out into the Atlantic and really make a huge impact.
On the 18th of May, 1941, the Bismarck sets out on her maiden mission, under the command of Admiral Lütjens. Codenamed Exercise Rhine, her task is to attack the Atlantic convoys supplying Britain with the essential materials it needs to keep fighting.
When the Bismarck goes to sea, the British are absolutely determined to sink it come what may. And it's not just because they're fearful of its potential as a weapon, but it's also because they know what a prestigious scalp it'll be if they sink it.
The Bismarck is soon hunted down by ships from the Royal Navy, spearheaded by HMS Hood, the pride of the British fleet. The Bismarck and Hood engage in heavy gunfire. This German footage shows the Bismarck's massive 15-inch guns firing at the Hood from a distance of nearly 10 miles. The Bismarck sinks the Hood with a direct hit.
HMS Hood is possibly the most famous ship in the Royal Navy, more so than its battleships, more so than its aircraft carriers. It's the one ship that everybody knows in Britain. So to sink it with one shell is a terrible, terrible blow for the British and a great coup for Raeder.
But Bismarck is damaged too. Now all available ships in the British fleet pursue the Bismarck, seeking revenge. After 2 days, planes from the British aircraft carrier Ark Royal intercept Hitler's megaship and target her with 18-inch torpedoes weighing 1,600 pounds. One finds its mark.
The torpedo hit the Bismarck's Achilles heel. It detonated in the steering room at the rear of the vessel, flooding the steering room, thus locking the Bismarck's rudder, and this sealed the fate of this giant vessel.
In Germany, Raeder gets the news that Bismarck is doomed, as Lütjens orders his men to fight to the last shell.
Send this to Admiral Lütjens. All our thoughts are with you and your ship. We wish you success in your desperate struggle.
Facing the certain loss of the Bismarck, for Raeder it was the best option for that vessel to go down with the flag flying, because it was simply the only way out, rather than to surrender the vessel to the enemy.
On the 27th of May 1941, after nearly 2 hours of continuous bombardment, Hitler's largest battleship sinks on her maiden voyage. Close to 2,000 sailors are lost. For Hitler, It's a PR disaster, and he holds Raeder, as head of the Navy, personally responsible.
Es ist völlig sinnlos. It's pointless having such a ship as Bismarck at the bottom of the sea. What is the point of having a capital ship like this? Tell me. Are they completely useless?
We can only win the war on the sea by being bold, my Führer.
What do you mean, bold? Who do you think you are talking to?
Hitler has lost faith in Raeder and his Z plan. The H-class of ships are cancelled, and all materials sent to build U-boats. But Hitler still has one megaship at his disposal. He orders the Tirpitz to take up a key strategic position in Norway.
Norway is important to Nazi Germany for a number of reasons. It's a possible target for Allied invasion, and that's why the German Atlantic Wall stretches all the way from the north of Norway down to the Spanish coast. But it's also very close to the route of the Arctic convoys, where the Royal Navy are escorting ships to Russia, taking vital supplies for the Russian war effort. And if the Germans are going to disrupt those convoys, they need to be in Norway.
Hitler's plan for the Tirpitz soon starts paying off.
Tirpitz didn't need to leave harbour to be a problem for the Royal Navy. The very fear of her presence was enough for them to throw extra resources into escorting convoys, and they were ships that could have been used elsewhere.
This suits Hitler. He doesn't want to engage with the Allies. He can't afford to lose any more of the fleet. But on New Year's Eve 1942, against Hitler's orders, a German naval task force attacks an Allied convoy off Norway. Hitler is furious. His orders have been disobeyed.
The High Seas Fleet has played no important role in this war. Fighting power is lying idle, while the army is constantly engaged in Einsatzlist. Der Marine fehlen Männer. The Navy lacks men of action who are determined to fight. Your use of capital ships to attack commercial convoys is strictly against my orders. My orders, Admiral! Alle Großkampfschiffe werden large capital ships will now be scrapped. The guns and crews will immediately be sent to Norway to support coastal defense.
Hitler's outburst is the final straw for Raeder. Humiliated by the scrapping of the Z plan and now faced with the dismantling of his naval fleet, he resigns. His ships are dismantled and their guns sent to bolster the Atlantic Wall. But one ship is made an exception. The Tirpitz. Hitler has plans for his prize battleship. In March 1943, he sends it even further north, to lurk in an Arctic fjord.
The Tirpitz spent 18 months anchored in Kafjord, just behind me here. And there are a number of reasons for that. One is that she's a huge ship and takes a lot of fuel to move. And there's not a lot of that going around. So she needs to conserve that. So she gets parked up.
A fresh crew is posted to man the anchored megaship. One of more than 2,500 on board is 18-year-old Willibald Volsing. A newly trained gunnery officer, he has a vital role in protecting the ship. In Kafjord, Tirpitz now lurks. Like a dragon in her lair, she waits to take on her predators. And she won't have to wait long.
Get ready for Nat Geo Fest as we bring you brand